Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. You've been listening to the ChatGPT podcast. Make sure to rate us wherever you listen to your podcasts and have a fantastic week. The innovation in AI right now is absolutely exploding. If you want to stay on top of all the insane disruptions and innovation that's happening right now, you need to subscribe to our newsletter on AIBox.ai. We send you daily everything that is happening, the news and the crazy advancements in AI technology straight to your inbox for free every single day. So go to AIBox.ai, subscribe, and stay ahead of the curve on the world of AI. Lately, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about how ChatGPT is going to impact games, gaming, and that whole industry. Today on the podcast, we are going to dive into that and look at the implications in the gaming industry, look at the disruption that's going to happen. So without further ado, let's get into it. I think the gaming industry is very massive. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, as we know, that has been really growing rapidly in recent years. So, whether we're looking for mobile games to console games, PC games, there's just countless titles available to play for pretty much any age and interest. And so I think that kind of just the diversity of all the content really plays into why it's growing so fast. So I'd say despite the popularity of games and the whole industry, it's not without its challenges. So developing games can be super time consuming, incredibly expensive, and making sure that your games are actually engaging and enjoyable for players. It requires a lot of creativity, expertise. And so I think that's actually where ChatGPT can come in and other AI tools to really help automate the process and create better things for the users. So one area that I've heard a lot of people talking about is how ChatGPT is going to affect NPCs in games. So an NPC is on-player character, right? So if there's a game and, it's like Skyrim or something, and you walk into like a tavern and there's a guy in the tavern and you can walk up to him and he'll, typically in games in the past, there's been like these NPCs that they'll just say like canned lines like, oh, go look for the ring in this place, or your quest is here, or, they'll try to move you along in a direction. They'll give you like one very basic thing. And so people are saying to make these games a lot more immersive, a lot more realistic, a lot more interesting, they can link these NPCs up with tools like ChatGPT. So when you go, and essentially, it's not just like an open chat to say whatever, you want. But essentially, they'll go and they'll create a really elaborate prompt that says like, okay, you're an NPC in a game that does X, Y, and Z. Your role is to help move the character along to do, this mission or that mission. When they come into like your area, you can just have a conversation with them about all of these different topics. And your goal is to always try to push them to go and take this action or do this thing. And so all of a sudden, every single time you go to a specific location and you ask a specific question to one of these characters, it's like a person actually talking. And it's giving you a different output, a different response every single time, depending on what you say to it. So this can be a really interesting way, I think, to make games a lot more unique, a lot more creative, a lot more powerful. And I think that, typically writing the dialogue for NPCs in games is really time consuming. And so I think this is a really interesting way that you can really build these out to be powerful, really powerful components in a game. So I think another area where ChatGPT is going to be useful is in just like obviously simple things like generating the description of game environments. So in a lot of games, players, they go and explore complex worlds filled with a variety of different environments, so you get like forests and deserts and futuristic cities. And so creating a detailed description of these environments, it can be challenging, it just takes time. So I think ChatGPT is going to be, trained to generate some really rich, immersive descriptions that kind of help bring the whole game world to life. I think it can also be used to automate certain aspects of game design. So, for example, I think that you could have ChatGPT be trained to generate game mechanisms based on a set of parameters, such as, the type of game, the target audience, and maybe the desired level of difficulty. So I think this can actually help speed up the game development process, and I think this is going to make sure that games are well balanced and, just fun to play. So, ChatGPT knows how games have been designed and set up in the past. It's been trained on so much data online. And so using it to kind of help you in that whole process, I think can really help the quality of games, especially like indie games and stuff like that are coming out. So of course, ChatGPT is not capable of just like completely, replacing human game developers. There's a lot of tasks involved in game development that require like a ton of creativity. Like, what's the premise of the game? What's the outline? What's the setting? I think, the expertise and the human touch is going to be really big moving forward, especially when a lot of stuff is made by AI. But I do think that by automating certain tasks, ChatGPT can help game developers be a lot more efficient and productive. And I think it's going to free up a lot of their time to focus on more complex and challenging tasks around these games that they're creating. So I think in addition to its potential impact on game development, ChatGPT could also have a pretty big impact on the game industry as a whole. So like, as an example, I think it could be used to automate like just customer support in your company, or just allowing players to get really quick like answers to their questions about the game without needing to go to like, a human customer support representative on your website or something. And I think that also, just like, obviously it's going to be used to generate marketing copy for the company, for the game, and just helping the developers to create like effective advertising campaigns and all that kind of stuff. So obviously it's going to get integrated into everything they're doing. And it's obviously a relatively new technology, but I think it's already starting to make some waves in the game industry. I've already heard like on other podcasts and stuff, people talking about companies that are doing these like NPCs linked up to ChatGPT. So I like, this is coming very soon. Companies are starting to roll this stuff out. So I think it's going to be really big and a very interesting area to watch in the future. If you are looking for an innovative and creative community of people using ChatGPT, you need to join our ChatGPT creators community. I'll drop a link in the description to this podcast. We'd love to see you there, where we share tips and tricks of what is working in ChatGPT. It's a lot easier than a podcast, as you can see screenshots, you can share and comment on things that are currently working. So if this sounds interesting to you, check out the link in the comment. We'd love to have you in the community. You've been listening to the ChatGPT podcast. Make sure to rate us wherever you listen to your podcasts, and have a fantastic week.